Yeah. Good morning, colleagues, and thank you so much for turning up this morning, and thank you for your usual patience. This morning, our first presenter is Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Ernest Hille, who is also Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture, and Information. Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam Press Secretary. Well, today I think we'll deal with two basic issues. One, the tourism arrival numbers for July, and very shortly you will get the monthly report as prepared by the Tourism Authority that provides all the details of the tourism numbers for the month of July. I think what is most exciting for us is the increase July on July. We witnessed an over 30% increase on July last year. And of course, the second issue would have been the Walk for Progress yesterday. I'm sure can't recall seeing any of you there, but we can take any questions you may wish to ask in that regard. So we will focus on those two issues. Let me start off with the first one in terms of the tourism arrival numbers. I'm sure you would be aware that the Carnival celebrations in July, which was the highlight of the month of July, in itself was a huge success, and it was very evident from the numbers of the persons who saw in the respective bands, as well as the support given to various events, boat rides, parties, and the shows, that we did in fact have a successful carnival. The parade itself was a magnificent one, seen by some of the visuals that came out of the parade. And the data itself testifies to that success. And like I said, over 30% increase July on July. And last year was quite a successful month for us. July this year was on par with 2019. Which was the biggest year that we've had in terms of tourism arrivals for the year. We're still slightly down on yacht arrivals and cruise arrivals, but we're expecting the next cruise season for us to return to the 2019 figures. And of course, we've already started planning for next year. We're very advanced in our planning for Jazz next year, which is May. And of course, for Carnival next year, we've started our planning. 2 weeks ago, we had our prize-giving ceremony recognizing all the winners for this year's Carnival celebrations. And I think the important thing for us is to continue to focus on the growth of the festival. There are some very critical aspects of it. How do we ensure we maintain some historical significance to the celebration? How do we continue to manage its growth? So we are preparing, and we will be having a press launch, in early October, and the international launch in Miami, as usual, just before Miami Carnival. So we're going to continue to work out. We're hoping to introduce a couple of new events for next year's Carnival, and of course, more details will be given out later on as we finalize and we liaise with our stakeholders, but we will continue to grow the festival and continue to make it a success. Of course, even beyond Carnival, let me just mention this Friday we celebrate La Rose, Saint Rose de Lima. The flower festival will be celebrated, and we're expecting this year's La Rose festival to be the grandest that we've had. It's going to, of course, have the traditional church service. On Friday morning, we will have the coronation of at least one new La Rose Queen at the church service, and afterwards we'll have the parade around the city, where the public will get a chance to see La Rose in its full, splendor, and of course with the presentations on the Constitution Park, as we've done in the past. But this year La Rose will be special, having to witness the coronation of a new La Rose Queen. So I would want to invite all St. Lucians to look out for the La Rose celebration this year.
Okay, in terms of the yacht arrivals, like you said, it's still not where you want it to be. Do you know or have any understanding of what is happening in the yacht industry as to why we're not seeing the numbers? Because the yacht industry was big here, the subsector. So what's happening? Because we know in the past couple of years there were a lot of reports of robberies taking place and whatnot. What has the government done? What is the Ministry of Tourism doing to?
Well, I think all the numbers down from 2019, not just yachting, but the stay-over arrivals have really rebounded this year. We're now surpassing 2019. The yachting is steadily, increasing. 2 years ago, we had some of those problems. Last year, we worked hard on correcting some of those problems, and you would not have had reports in the last season. You'd have heard that the season before. And it's a question of continuing to work and to promote and to make sure that St. Lucia is at the forefront, of the minds of persons in the yachting sector. So we're going to continue to work to make sure that we, deal with all the issues. But we expect it to reach its peak very shortly. And there is no one particular item one can say that is the cause why we've not. Look at even the regional arrivals. We're still below where we were in 2019. And when you see the figures, you realize we still have some issues with regional arrivals. Of course, we do know that airlift is still an issue. One of the reasons why we were able to have such a good July is because of the increase in seats this summer, both from Jazz all the way up to end of August. We've had a significant increase in the number of seats, and that has helped us. So we're going to continue the efforts to promote yachting and to try to attract a lot more yachts than we have. Yeah, we actually finalizing plans to submit to DCA in relation to Marigot Bay. There's going to be a complete redevelopment of Marigot Bay. It's going to cost a lot of money, but we're finalizing the plans for it.
Thank you, Mr. On the question of, just along those lines, before we probably switch subject, on the question of yachting, I think one of the issues, and you may correct me on this, would be sort of the services provided within the yachting sector. And I know for years we've been trying to increase the skill level that's being offered, whether it be for the mechanics, for the yachts, the sail repairs and things of that sort. Is that an area perhaps that we can look into to bolster the arrivals, so that when they come in, they know that they can find those sort of services here?
Well, I think that the marina, and certainly the capacity of the marina, is quite established, and they can deal with a lot of those issues. And we're also in discussion with an investor to build another boatyard in St. Lucia. So there are some developments that will address the issue of capacity to meet some of the technical needs of yachties. But I'm satisfied. I've not heard any complaints that say the marina cannot meet the needs of anybody right now.
Where is it?
Sorry? It's actually next to the marine base, but we are in discussions now, Slasper Invest and the investor, about establishing a boatyard. Yeah, marine police, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of your newest addition to our festivities, the Yamaha, believe it's the Summer Fest. Could you please give me the latest on it? Because I've been speaking to some French people and they look forward to it. So you could just give us the latest on what's happening on the promotions, etc., happening within Guadeloupe and Martinique. Because as I said, I was up there and I spoke to a few who didn't even know, and they are speaking about it already. So could you please give us a little?
Well, we did have the official launch of the Yamaha Sunfest, and about 3 weeks ago, we had the official launch, and very shortly we will announce the headliner who will headline the festivity. So, but all the preparations are going on quite nicely. The promotions are going on quite well. In the next few days, we will officially start the sale of tickets. I think it's the last day of August. The sale of tickets will commence. And in the first week of September, the headliner will be announced. I think the headliner has some contractual arrangements for an appearance, so he will not be announced until that appearance. But it's going to be a really attractive headliner. And of course, as we approach early November, all the promotions will step up. But it's going to be a major event, major event. And it's going to become a regular feature on our calendar of events.
My final question will be on our culture. Our Laos is on Friday, sir. And I'm a Laos person attending the CSS, right? and you keep on hearing the same thing. There's not enough money. It's being pumped into Laos. You'd hear a little band saying not enough. You'll hear people saying the same way the carnival bands have their costumes. We are carnival too. We have the costumes, and enough is not being given to us in the sense of the way we do our business. We have costumes to make every year, etc. Will the government almost the same way that you all are pumping it into the carnival, because our Laos could be just as big as our carnival. The intention is to maybe pump and maybe make it maybe our second carnival, because it's the only festival of its kind within the Caribbean. I mean, it's only Guyana who has something close, and they basically following what we have.
Well, I mean, the government does not give the carnival bands money to build costumes. I mean, people pay for their costumes. Well, concessions is all that's not a problem to get concessions. But we have put more money into La Rose and La Marguerite, more than ever. I mean, until this government, it has really, I think $50,000 been given every year. We've significantly increased that. And there's more support. I'm not saying there's enough support, but there's more support being given. And I think the strategic objective for the next couple of years is to build a number of groups, make the groups that exist stronger, and start building new groups. So I think this year you will see one new La Rose group. I think the Monrepo group, not Monrepo, Deriso will have a group for the first time. And it is to ensure we have more groups. La Marguerite a little different. La Marguerite falls during the school terms, and all the schools are involved, and there's a lot more activity that takes place. But we're going to continue to increase support and to make it bigger. But because of its nature, it's a little difficult comparing it to Carnival, because Carnival people would pay $2,000 for a costume and to come out on the road. La Marguerite is slightly different.
Maybe the marketing, maybe how we market it, how we marketing it,
Well,
how we marketing our Laos enough.
Well, I think it's more than marketing. The persons who are involved in La Rose are not exactly individuals who would spend $2,500 on a costume. I mean, yeah, and I don't know that government can pay for costumes for each person. So it's a different dynamic, and we need to discuss how we can give them the concession, how we can give them the support for them, and not just the costumes, musicians. They need the musicians to be going around with them, playing the music and celebrating. So, but we're going to continue to dialogue and to see how best we can provide more support for the Flower Festival to grow. And like you, I think a dream of all of us is that the Flower Festivals, because of its uniqueness, will become a major attraction and festival in St. Lucia. It is significant already, but in terms of promoting it to really stand out as an attraction, we will continue to work on that.
And yes, we note, the report shows that we had American Airlines JetBlue helping to increase the flights, international flights. But in terms of the regional, we know we've heard of Inter-American Airways. And Liat lately, there was some talk of
Liat 2020.
What is the regional airlift flag? Is there any prospects for, reduced fares? Is it something that the tourism ministers are looking into?
Yeah, well, we're still hoping that Liat 2020 can come on full steam and add to the number of seats. We continue to struggle as a region. Inter-Caribbean has been doing a fantastic job, but still have challenges. It is challenging to have, a regional service, which is why we need to have both a public sector and public-private sector solution to make sure that, we cover all options available. So we're looking forward to Liat. You will notice in the estimates for this financial year, the Prime Minister allocated about $1 million under our ministry to support any regional initiative we believe can help promote, inter-Caribbean, inter-regional travel. So we have a vested interest in it and a deep interest in making sure that it works out. Every time I see the monthly reports come on arrivals, I look to see the Caribbean numbers, because I really want the Caribbean numbers to continue to grow and to grow even faster. But of course, we're limited by, the airlift capacity. But you raise an important point in terms of the cost of travel. And a few days ago, I had a discussion, and it is something that will come up at the next, Ministers of Tourism meeting, especially OECS, which we may have early next week, is what can we do to reduce the cost of travel? And one idea is, of course, to reduce the taxes, because the taxes are quite, high. Whether or not we can look at the numbers and to do some modeling and to see whether we can reduce the level of the taxes and make a proposal to the ministers of finance to reduce the level of taxes in the hope that we'll have more persons traveling, and at what point does it become beneficial to reduce at to what level to allow more people to travel, how price sensitive it is in other words. I'm for one who supports the removal of taxes on interregional travel, but it's not as easy as that. But the fact is the numbers are not growing fast enough, but partly because of not just the cost, but also to just the availability of seats. So we'll continue to work on that.
Okay, and just to back up, I mightn't be Okura, Elif and Fez, but would it, in terms of a marketing strategy, I mean, with Caribbean is film festivals, we have Carnival, we have jazz, now we have cricket. Is there not a package deal for the Caribbean travelers, like a discount deal at Christmas or every Christmas or Carnival or jazz or whatever? And also the ferry service was something that's been touted. Would that not be another option in terms of making travel more affordable for the region?
Well, let's look at the ferry in the first instance. There's been a lot of talk about the ferry, a lot of suggestions of adding ferries south of St. Lucia. We all know the challenge of going to Barbados on ferry, unless you have a ferry that is big enough that it can deal with the Atlantic Ocean. A lot of people don't want to travel by sea. That is reality, because of motion sickness and whatnot. So in itself, people have challenges. If you're going to go to Grenada, the idea of having to go on a ferry for 7 hours, as against if you fly for 45 minutes, is a big difference. And some people tell you they'd rather just fly and pay the extra than go on a ferry. But the ferry has worked well, certainly if Martinique, Dominique and Guadeloupe, in the case of St. Lucia, especially Martinique and Guadeloupe. So a culture has developed of using the ferry between those islands. And because of the nature of the travel, business people don't really take the ferry. But if you go on a lime, you go into a Dominica Creole Festival, you go and shop in Martinique, you want to see your family, even medical treatment, persons will take the ferry. So it has worked well. It has not really proven to be equally attractive to go south of St. Lucia. But there is talk and possibilities being explored right now. You mentioned about package tours, but again, just look at the breakdown of the cost structure. If government taxes is more than half of the cost, you as a private person or even an airline, how much of a package can you really give in terms of discounted when the greater part of the fare is not even your fare? As the airline, it is government taxes. Because remember, when you look at the breakdown there, if you're going to fly to Grenada and you go through St. Vincent, like St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, you pay taxes in St. Lucia, you pay taxes in St. Vincent, and you pay taxes in Grenada. So you pay 3 sets of government taxes just to go to Grenada. Just to go to Grenada. Now, the airline portion of it is not, as significant as the taxes. So if you're going to start talking about packages, the airlines virtually have to give you the seat and just say you just pay government taxes, which will not make sense, So we have to have a discussion about government taxes. Now, the governments have taxes in place because that's the revenue stream for them to pay for the new airport terminals upgrades and the new airports. So what government does is take a loan and say to the lender, the revenue from ticket taxes is what's going to pay back the loan. So if you tell them, I'm going to take it away from you, they're not going to ask you, how am I going to pay the loan for my airport upgrade? Now, then we have to be able to put forth an argument that says, if people are coming into your country, because it's now cheaper, they spend more in your country, your VAT returns increase, your government revenue increase, and therefore there is another benefit that can help pay the loan, because there's greater economic activity arising from the visitation of those persons. So we need to look at it and to analyze the different aspects. But one thing I'm sure of is because of those high taxes, it is a detriment to travel. It's just too expensive for some people to travel. Even those who are thinking about it, just the cost of it. So how can we cause travel to take place for us is a critical issue.
How many islands, at least in the sub-region, you will see the taxes that are from traveling through the airports is because of airport development? How many, apart from St.
I wouldn't. I'll have to find that out and give you accurate information.
Okay, the Prime Minister yesterday announced that that soon you make announcement on the airports and how
Yeah.
you're going to, I guess, even finance that. So does that mean we're no longer looking at a loan?
He said he will make announcements,
Okay.
and he said he's coming, so let him come with all the information.
Just, I guess in terms of St. Lucia's part, what is it that we could possibly offer in terms of cutting or reducing taxes?
No, I think I want to participate in a discussion, and certainly will raise it with my colleagues, about how we can approach ministers of finance to reduce the taxes. We have to find a way to reduce the taxes, even if it has to be a circle of those who are willing and able to do it. It doesn't have to be all the countries to agree. But if 2-3 countries can agree, we can start the process of reducing the cost of travel. And I think we really need to work on this. It should not be too expensive for the average St. Lucian to want to go to Barbados, to pay $2,000 to travel or whatnot.
And as you say, so the activity, the events activity in the Caribbean is increasing.
Yeah.
You know, pretty soon we'll have some more stuff coming, so people will.
Yeah, I mean, to go to St. Vincent, which is 10-12 minutes away, to pay so much money. We need to do something about it.
Maybe I'll ask you some of the hardest questions here. These are my colleagues, former colleagues. Two-part question. We all know when the slow season for the cruise ship is, hurricane season, but perennially you find market vendors, dry craft vendors in particular, lamenting, bemoaning the lack of economic activity as a result of this dry season. The latest plea is, well, perhaps the government can consider maybe cutting the rent costs, or meeting them halfway during those perennial dry or slow seasons. That's question one. Question two is going back to Carnival, community carnival specifically. It's another niggling issue. It happens every so often every year, where you find community carnivals spill over into August, and maybe other activities are maybe even overshadowed, or it causes conflict with other national activities in that month. What can you do? Have you done? Are you doing to sort of find some sort of balance to keep Carnival caged in July and before, to allow August to breathe with its other activities? Those are the two questions.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the second one. When I started off as minister, my whole intention, and I explained, was for us to have all community carnivals before the national parade, the national carnival. And we really pushed for it. And even suggesting that subventions will only be given to carnivals before the national, as a way of, forcing the issue. Some of the communities came back and argued that their carnivals had historical significance, and those things had been going on for in some cases almost 20 years of having their carnival the first weekend in August, and to almost force it before the national for them was a little difficult. And we really tried to persuade them. We use a lot of moral suasion. We've not really enforced the threat that we'll only give subvention to those who are before the national, because we are acutely aware that August is Emancipation Month, and we want that reserved for that purpose. But some communities have said, no, we've been doing this on this date for how many years, and we still want to continue to do it. We're going to continue the moral suasion, to speak with them, to encourage them, because having the community carnivals before the national also helps build up, the vibe, build up the whole momentum towards the national. And we really want all of them to be able to do so. So from the weekend after Jazz ends, to start community carnival. So it has not exactly worked out that way. We will continue to speak with them about it and to push them to have it before the national. So that for us is critical. And also too, in terms of standards and whole procedures and how they manage it, how they organize it, it will be a lot easier for us to be able to set those standards and to police it and manage it if it's within a season. But once it starts going over the season, by which time everybody is already switching off to another activity, it makes it a little difficult. And you find community carnivals, there are trucks and how you call them? the barriers and all those things, and we saw some of what that can cause, whatnot. So we still want to set those standards and the whole management of the community carnivals to a certain standard. So yeah, the first point you made about the vendors is critical, and I think we need to think of alternative ways of getting the vendors to participate in the process. So the first thing we have to do is to get more cruise ships in the off season. Now that's proving to be more and more difficult because a lot of the cruise ships are phasing out the smaller ships and going with larger ships. So you notice the ships are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know, some of the smaller ships, which they probably could use during the off season when the demand is lower, because they won't bring the large ships during the off-season when demand is low, they send them to other parts of the world. So they're now saying to us, those smaller ships, we can have the high-polluting ships, we need to get them out. The new standards in the industry requires, you know, a certain amount of emission and you know, carbon footprints and whatnot. So it becomes challenging. So it makes you wonder, what next do we do? And one of the ideas that has run through my head is to charge the vendors only according to when there are cruise ships in the harbor. You know, maybe a formula like this. So if you're not making money on the day, I will not charge you. But the days when you are making money, I will charge you.
You're talking about 6 months?
Well, no, I will charge you per day. So if there's no cruise ships, I don't charge you. But every day there's a cruise ship. If I charge you $20, I can, in that 6 months, make the money for the whole year. Yeah, so when your cash flow is high and you can afford to pay me, you pay me. When you have no cash flow, you don't pay me. You understand what I'm saying?
I suspect the Vendors Association will be very intrigued by that proposal.
I mean, it's just something that's been floating in my head. But if you think about it, it's fairer for both sides. I still make my annual earnings from renting to you. And it also helps you because when you are cash flow and better able to pay, you can pay. And when you cannot pay, you don't pay. You know, but it's something we're going to talk about, and I'm going to float with them.
The carnival thing you mentioned, just one observation. Rosile, as August 1st, traditionally Rosile Day. So that would be one of the...
No, that's the point I was making. Some communities, Grozile is one of them, that always have theirs the first weekend in August. So can we move on to, you still want more questions still?
Back to the vendors. The vendors have been crying about basically I believe I've spoken to you about that and trying to get more tourists because you can have 4,000 or 5,000 people coming to St. Lucia on the market.
But you've asked me that question already. I've answered that already. You know.
Yes, but still they keep on asking
No,
me.
but the answer is clear. When we redo the port, the way the new vendors arcade will be designed with the new development by GPH, it will allow for every cruise passenger to access the vendors arcade. Now, the most we can do is to bring the vendors to you, bring the cruise passengers to you. I can't force them to buy. But I will tell you, we will redesign it in a way where everybody that comes off a cruise ship will go through the vendors arcade. So you will have access to the cruise passengers. But the other thing we have to do, and the vendors must come to terms with, they must stop thinking of themselves as vendors. Them days gone already. Nobody has an obligation and there's no entitlement to buy from you. You're a salesperson. So you have to change your whole mindset and your whole approach to it. And I've said to them, I said, look, I've traveled outside St. Lucia and I've bought items, not because I really wanted the item, but I was so impressed with the vendor, you know, the way they approach it, the way they try to get me to buy it. I just buy it because they have a story and narrative about almost every item, you know, that they are selling. And they almost carry you along that journey until you just buy it. You must see yourself as a salesperson. Nobody has to come to you and must buy from you just because you're a vendor. Convince them, charm them, entice them, and make them buy from you. And then when they tell you they only have a card, don't tell them you don't have a machine because it's only cash you're taking, because some people don't carry cash. So, you know, the whole modernization of that sector has to take place. And my ministry is going to address it. We're fully aware of it, so we're talking about some of the improvements we can make in that regard.
The presentation, like in fruits. I was in Jamaica. You see they selling fruits on the string. And you not knowing what it is that they're selling. But the way you want to buy it.
Yeah.
Now we're selling. We have the pop-up, and we have the pineapple, we have T-shirts. And I mean, package that like a day, I was still wanting to, you know.
Yeah, there's a lot that has to be done.
And
Yeah.
like you said, don't call yourself vendor with small business person, entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Take it off, you know.
Yeah. So let's move on to the match.
Yes, I was about to ask, Minister,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, the walk,
So,
sorry.
yeah, so I know that when you are in the moment, it can
Yeah.
be grand, but the morning after, as you reflect, how do you feel about the walk for progress?
Well, I think if you saw the post on my page yesterday, it probably spoke to that feeling that it was not about numbers. It was really an opportunity to say thank you to St. Lucians, as well as for St. Lucians to express confidence and support for the work that has been done. And I'm not going to spread blame on either side, whatnot. The fact is, in this country right now, the political atmosphere is too toxic. It's just too toxic. It's not healthy. And like I'm saying, I'm not saying right or wrong. It's just not healthy. And we almost have to reduce it. It's become very personalized. It become very, in a sense, I try and find the right word to use. It's become almost vicious, and there's a viciousness in it. And we just need to tone down. And if you listen to narratives, you'd believe that the country is in total despair and disarray, and the country is just been is sinking into the deepest hole you can find. And yesterday was a statement that that's not true. That there are people, a significant number of people in this country that, aware of the work that's been done and the progress that is being made. And they came out yesterday, despite the inclemency of the weather, despite all the uncertainties. They came out and they walked. And I can tell you, I was saying to somebody, we still have a couple more gears we could have gone up in terms of bringing out more people. So yesterday was really about that. And this morning was just a recommitment to work hard and to deliver. For my part, I know that the better part of the work that we have to do is just about to start, in tourism, in terms of improving the infrastructure in the country. In my constituency, I've not even started my constituency projects yet. Well, probably two of them have started, the Mon Lay-by and the Cicero Playing Field. Well, we're about to complete the Bassett Joseph Community Center, but I still have a lot more that I want to do over the next 2 years. So when I heard the Prime Minister said he was about to call the Governor General, I was like, the boss, take it easy. I still want to do some more. So for us, it was a reaffirmation that we are working, and we're not perfect. We will never boast of being perfect. We make mistakes, and sometimes we fall short, and we reflect, and we recalibrate, and we come again. And that's the nature of the beast. And to try and stay humble through it all. Sometimes stay calm, compose, and stay focused. So for me this morning when I woke up, it was with renewed energy to just continue to persevere and to do the work that has to be done.
So do you think it's a gauge for your election, perhaps whenever the Prime Minister decides to go ahead and ring the bell?
Well, I don't think it is so much a gauge for elections. I don't think we even think in elections. It was more a gauge to just reaffirm to us that, yes, we are working and people are supportive, and for us to say thank you to them. The time will come when we'll think of elections. As it turns out in the political cycle, the opposition always thinks about elections. The opposition always wants elections until you call it, and then they start wondering whether they did the right thing. But we're not thinking about that. Yesterday was a statement to us of where we're going at this point in time and the level of support we have for what we are doing, and to really renew our focus, like the PM said, keeping our eyes on the prize, because we have a vision of where we want to go.
I was thinking about the sort of rhetoric that's on the ground, and you spoke about, you want it to cool off a bit. There's too much viciousness going on. But even last evening on platform, and even now, Minister, you have failed. When I say you, I mean, all and sundry on the government side. You still failed to be specific in your calling for that. Can you be more specific? Can you call on your supporters to desist from the name calling, the disparaging remarks online, now is your opportunity to really speak to your base.
Right.
And because if you're saying that there's just too much of this negativity going on, can you now use this opportunity to call on them to stop it, and perhaps any disparaging comments and posts that are online about even the police commissioner or the police officers? We have Dr. Mel Clark, we have Dr. Alison Jean, there's so many going on. Now is the opportunity.
Yeah,
sir.
no, I think the Prime Minister did that last night. Like you said, he wasn't specific. But last night he did say that, and he said it to all of us. Let's not go down certain roads. We're not doing this.
But he's saying it to you.
No,
but
he
not
also
to the
said it last night.
supporters?
No, he said it last night that he does
the
not.
supporters.
Yes,
Did
he
he say
said
so
so.
to
He
the
said
base?
so last night to the base. I do not want, and I'm saying to y'all, don't do this. Of course, you can't control all surrogates. You can never control all surrogates. And some persons, it's like a ceasefire. I back off, but if you take me on, I'll answer you, and I'll take you back on. And it continues. And I will say it. I have no difficulty in saying it. And you know what really touches me, and I'm very, very passionate about that. You see me, I'm in the political sphere. You'll come after me, I decide when I'm going to answer you, and I decide how much blows I take, because I know I can take care of myself, and I know I can fight. But there are a lot of public servants, there are a lot of families, there are a lot of, children, whatnot, that should not be brought into that warfare, that political warfare, should not be brought in. And for me, for a fact, you draw certain lines. We go at each other, we blast each other, we beat up each other. Every now and then we step over the line and you pull back, because that's the nature of the dynamism of political contests. But there's certain things you just don't do, and you try not to do it. I mean, trust me, even for my own part, there are times I believe I could take certain people to court and sue them, and then on reflection you realize, nah, you're not doing that. Just leave it alone and just move on. Not that you can't do it. You're fully entitled and you know you can do it. But you just decide, you know what, just leave that alone and just move on. Take the blows and just move on. And sometimes in politics you have to do that. And we draw the line sometimes and we're just not going to cross it. Sometimes your surrogates don't listen to you. Sometimes they feel more hurt than you, the person who's been harmed by it. But we need to say it, and I will say it. I will say it. The Prime Minister said it last night, and I will say it again. We need to just tone down the political rhetoric and the toxic nature of our society right now, the divisiveness, the division. All of us need to tone it down. And all of us must respect each other. Let's debate, let's argue. Let's debate, let's argue, but let's just tone it down. Let's just tone it down. But nobody must ever believe that one side can throw it at will, and they're right and fully entitled to do it, and the other side cannot or should not respond. Nobody should ever fool themselves, because trust me, I mean, battles can be fought, but let's not fight those battles. Let's not fight them, and let us put St. Lucia, in a sense, in a place where we don't try to destroy St. Lucia. We don't try to you see what we have that is treasured, our country. Let us try and keep it sacred. But let us debate, let's argue. I love a good debate. I love a good argument. And I don't have to get personal with you to debate. I can just argue with you on the basis of facts and on the basis of argument. But most times when people get personal like that, it's because they're so weak in their facts and in their arguments. They cannot stand up to you. So they go below the belt and they try and get nasty and they try to destroy your reputation. They try and make false accusations. Anytime you see people doing that, you know it's a weakness on their part.
But as Minister with responsibility for the CIP, will you or have you been satisfied with the performance of Ms. Pierre at the unit?
Miss Pierre? Who's Miss Pierre?
Ms. Felicia Pierre.
Come on, Lisa. Obviously, everything I'm saying is lost on you.
No, Minister. You
But let's
just
talk
said
about the
that-
walk. Let's talk about the walk.
No, we are
The
talking about
the walk yesterday showed that people are very satisfied with the performance of the government. Hold on. Very satisfied with the performance of the government. They show that they still support the government and that they want us to continue along the path. And after yesterday, all the negativity, all the mépris, all the malpines, all those things goes out of the window.
Well, you just said to me a while ago, that just moments ago, that you debate on the facts.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you if you have been satisfied with her performance
Okay.
at the unit.
Let,
That's
let
what
me
I'm
let,
asking.
let me answer it. Let me answer you differently. And I assume that you're sensible enough. you're astute enough, you're knowledgeable enough. Do you really believe that me as minister would know of the performance of every staff member in every agency that falls under my portfolio? To even suggest you asking me that question reinforces the point that I'm making, that you have to be part of the solution. You cannot be part of the problem, because you would have known. It's like asking me whether the driver in the ministry, I'm satisfied with him.
Well,
How-
we
how-
know that as a-
hold on,
well, we
hold
know
on,
that her
please.
position is a little bit higher
No,
up
no.
than that.
Well, I don't even know. I don't even know. But you know better than that. You know better than that. So let's stay the course. You and I were having a discourse on how we can reduce the toxic nature of the discourse in our society right now. Let's talk more about how we can do that.
Absolutely, Minister, and I agree.
But let's
with
go back
that.
to the march. Let's go back to the walk of progress. 2 issues today. Carnival, tourism arrival numbers and the walk of progress. Were you happy with the walk of progress yesterday?
I watched the walk.
Did
of
you walk?
progress. No, unfortunately.
You probably should have.
Then
You'd have made a powerful statement if you walked yesterday.
No, don't worry. I'm all for progress.
No, well, you should have walked.
I'm all for progress.
And the next time we walk, I'll make sure you walk with
It's
me.
unfortunate that you did not take the opportunity to answer the question, because
Well-
I thought it would have diffused the situation.
Well-
Because certainly for, because if
I
her
think you're a lot
ability-
wiser than that.
If her
Lisa.
record is being called into question, then at least you had the opportunity to diffuse.
Lisa, if you're calling her
whatever
record
those-
into question, Lisa.
I am not doing that.
Well,
Okay, thank you so much,
Lisa.
I never did that.
Dr. Hillary,
I was just
please
giving
get
you the
back to
opportunity to
cabinet.
say that she
Lisa.
was well
Yeah,
suited
Lisa.
for the position, that's all.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Okay, sir.
Let me put
Just
for
one last question,
Last
please.
one. Dominica recently welcomed their Olympian. Botswana, their first Olympian, came home to a resounding welcome. St. Lucians are building up expectations. I
Yeah.
know you're involved in the planning as chair
Yeah.
of the committee. What can St. Lucian? Can you give us a preview or a hint as to
Well,
what's to come for
yeah.
Julian when she gets here?
Julian is getting here September 24th, and she'll be. Huh? Breaking news.
that.
Did you know that? I spoke out of turn, man. Yeah. But yeah, she's coming. She'll be here for about 3 or 4 days. So we will plan a very comprehensive program for her and make sure that she gets welcome and a recognition befitting of an Olympic champion and the fastest woman in the world. And let's all be proud St. Lucians. Lisa, you too. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, San can share the data with you. Yeah, all right?
Okay, colleagues, our second speaker is Senator Honorable Dr. Pauline Antoine Prosper, who is the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology, and Vocation Training.
Thank you. Good morning. Not yet.
Can you tell us some briefs?
Yes. On Thursday, the 22nd of August, the Ministry of Education met with the owners of private early childhood centers. The government had promised to give them a startup for the new school year of $2,500. And so we met them in Denver on Thursday at a ceremony where we handed to them their checks of $2,500. We know very well that post-COVID, many of those early child, or all of them, had difficulties because their clients lost their jobs, they had to pay rent, they had to pay staff, and it has been very difficult for them. I am aware that some of the parliamentary representatives had reached out to some of them, but the Prime Minister felt that we needed to bring relief to those early childhood centers. After all, we have made early childhood a priority, and those centers operated by themselves. The government often supported the government centers. So it is a one-shot payment of $2,500, and it was well received by the early childhood centers.
I have a question, but not on
I figured.
Okay, my question to you is, has the Department of Education responded to the letter that the students who were studying at Spartan University, the medical students, they called on the ministry to help them with their situation because the school had lost its accreditation. Also the fact that they actually lost out on the tuition that they had paid, they never got the requisite classes for it, and right now many are either at home, some at work, some have been able to matriculate in other universities, but there are many others who are hoping for help from the ministry to be placed at other universities so they could continue and most probably start off the whole medical studies again.
We are aware of the situation. We have been in consultation with Spartan, and we are helping as far as we can.
I'm not talking about Spartan, I'm talking about the students. They wrote
The-
a letter to the Department of Education, the minister, also the other, your other officials are also CC'd in that letter. Have you all responded, or do you all plan to respond to the students?
We do plan to respond. We have not responded in full, but we are on top of the situation.
You have not responded in full, so you have made contact with some of the students? Or?
Well, not all of them, but we would have, at ministry level, we are dealing with the situation. Because this is not a decision that is something that has financial implications, and the minister and the ministry on its own cannot take final decisions on matters of that nature.
But with the university itself, what have they told you to reassure you that going forward they will be, I guess, ensuring that this doesn't happen again, or they actually working towards accreditation? What have they said?
Well, you know that we have an accreditation unit in place at the moment, and this is the responsibility of that unit.
The accreditation unit doesn't fall under the Department of Education?
Yes, it does.
So you have no idea what is it that they will be doing? What I'm asking, because the minister did meet with, so is it possible if we could get an
Well,
idea of how that meeting
we
went? What was said?
ensure that every university that wants to operate on island is accredited, and we are ensuring that they meet the requirements of the committee.
How are you ensuring that?
Well, there is a checklist. There are things that there are requirements that they have to meet, and as long as they meet those requirements, this is only when that we are going to allow them to operate there. I am not saying things have not been done badly in the past, but we are here to correct the mistakes.
Yes. In terms of the school curricula, we've heard a lot lately about TVET, the vocational part of the training institute, among school. How much is being done to really, push through that area of, educational development in terms of kids, learning skills and learning, different, methods to earn their livelihoods.
It has to be a holistic approach. The Ministry of Education has the department that takes care of ensuring that the schools are equipped, that there is enough, that the schools are advertised, they know what they're about. And in the media, I'm sure you have heard some of this. I am not saying that enough has been done, but the work is ongoing in promoting the TVET schools. We are aware that there may be stigma attached to some of the schools because of their performance, etc. But we are trying our best to ensure that the parents embrace, that they understand, because some of us still feel that TVET is for children who are operating at the lowest scale. However, the research has shown that this is not true, that the very best students can do as well in TVET. I remember going on a study tour in Guyana, and the children who were getting 14 and 15 CXCs were doing TVET, and they were doing extremely well in both fields. So we have to sell out that concept. We have to throw away that misconception that TVET is for children who are not academic, and allow our children to benefit from, Because I tell them every day that the money is with TVET. Those of us who teach, we don't make any money. Our students who go out and do electricals and other, they are the ones who make the money out there. So this is what we have to sell to our public so that they embrace the concept of technical vocational education.
And just a quick backup, we know that for schools, for institutions are identified. So with the new year coming in, especially now we know science, technology, like you said, outside the box, science, technology, digital, with the new year, with the new school term, what would be the ratio, the average of kids wanting to enter into these four institutes? Is there a push to get, how do they identify them? Do they make up, do they
as anything else, anytime you're starting anything, there is skepticism, people are not willing, and as I said before, it is something we have to sell. The classes are not big at this time, but we are hopeful that as time goes on, that we are going to get many more students who are going to opt for the technical vocational school. We are making an attempt to show them what equipment, what is available at the schools, so that we have more students who are opting for technical vocational education.
I'll ask a question. It's not unusual for government to support parents and teachers for back to school. As parliamentary secretary, are there any noticeable changes, or how would you assess the level of support parents, teachers have received going for the back to school this year, this time around?
This year, first of all, the students who went into first year at secondary school got their $500 bursaries. The government has also invested up to $2 million to give back to school assistance to parents to help them buy school uniforms, school shoes, school books, what have you, to the most vulnerable parents to assist them in ensuring that their children have a good start for the new academic year that starts on the 2nd of September this year.
And I know also teachers do get some assistance?
Yes,
Was
in
that repeated this year?
September, the teachers will get their TMA. Some of them were asking because they noticed it wasn't on their salary for August, but we have reassured them that they will get their TMA with their salary in September. And the new students who are going to Form 1 at secondary school, all of them are going to get their new laptop when school reopens as well, when they go in for registration as well.
Are part-time teachers eligible for the TMA?
Yes.
So both